What's up, people? It's James from Lucrative MMA. I'm back to drop some more knowledge on you. And today we're going to be talking about the UFC Vegas 26 card. I'm going to recap it. As I always do after every fight card, I go over the card and I'll be talking about all the fights, all the talking points from the night, to which there was quite a few. And I'll be going through all my bets on the card as I usually do. 100% transparent here for me. And this card, it wasn't a great card for me. I managed to squeak profit. I had a couple of bad bets, so not a usual card for me. At the end of the day, we still profited, and now we make it 10 of the last 11 weekends. We have profited over 2 months of profit. The only weekend we did lose in that 10 out of 11 streak, we lost to 0.1 unit. So it's a break-even weekend, basically. So we haven't lost in 11 weekends in a row. It's a pretty phenomenal streak, even for professional sports bettors like myself. This is actually, I've just equaled my longest winning streak of all time. So I'm hoping to keep it up with UFC 262, which is an absolute huge card. So anybody in the chat, hit me up and we can have a chat, and we'll get straight into the card now. For those of you who haven't watched my videos before, I'm a professional sports bettor. I make my money from betting on MMA. I have a handicapping service where people make money with me from my picks, and they also learn from me one-on-one. And I have sports betting training courses. If you want to become a professional sports bettor, you can start there on my website. The packages are extremely cheap compared to what you will make unless you're betting $5 units. If you're betting peanuts, then go to another service. But if you want to make some real money from betting on MMA, join me. I'm third-party tracked on betmma.tips. I cannot fake my record. Just go on my website. The link's in the bio, and you can see everything about me. So here we go. Look, the first fight of the card, Carsten Harris versus Christian Aguilar. So Carsten Harris was making his UFC debut, and what a debut he made. He come in there, and he got Aguilar out there in under 3 minutes. It's a decent feat. I did expect him to do it. Any bets I had on this fight? Yes, I had 3 units, which was one of my biggest plays on the card. I had 3 units on Carsten Harris to win at -150. I think on some books he was going off -200, which is pretty crazy. But he looked -200 in there. He took a big uppercut in that fight, and he managed to stay on his feet. He did look a little bit wobbled. But other than that, it was smooth sailing. He actually hurt Aguilera on the feet, and then he was able to take the fight to the ground. He switched from an anaconda to a dash choke, I believe it was. And, he put Christian Aguilera unconscious. So it was a very, very solid debut for him. He celebrated after. He looked like a bit of a beast. His voice is like one of the lowest voices I've ever heard. Very deep voice, very, very manly fighter. Came in there, dominated his opponent. UFC debut, solid debut. Called out fighters, I believe. I don't know if he said their names, but, he said he's ready to fight again. And that's a great win for him. I think it was like from a country, I can't remember what country he was from, but it was like it was like possibly the first or the second UFC fighter from that country. So, it's probably going to be a pretty big star in his country now, because it's a very small country, I believe. If any of you in the chat can remember exactly what country, hit me up in the chat, because it's kind of annoying I can't remember it. But yeah, man, Carsten Harris, amazing start to the card for him, and amazing start to the card for us, me and my members, because we cashed a 3-unit ticket on him for +2 units. So the next fight on the card was Jun Young Park versus Tafon the Don Nachukwi. Now, I'm a bit kicking myself here because I didn't have a bet on this fight, but I really was considering playing Park. I kind of wanted +150 because I felt it was a fairly even fight. I did think Park wouldn't be able to, take Tafon down, but I did think that he'd be able to jab his face off. It's kind of annoying when you have almost a perfect read on a fight. And I know Park did take him down, but that was in the last round, where Tafon was tired. And in fact, he tried to take him down earlier in the fight, and he couldn't get the takedowns. In fact, Tafon actually stuffed one of his takedowns, ended up on top and in a dominant position. So it's kind of annoying when you have a perfect read on the fight. The fight goes almost exactly how you think it will go, but you don't bet on it, right? You didn't cash. That's always annoying. They're the most annoying ones, Like if you make a bet and your read was completely off, well, you just need to get better in your read. But if your read was completely perfect and you don't bet, that's that's what really hurts you, you know? So yeah, I'm annoyed I didn't bet Park here, especially he was at plus money, but it wasn't huge plus money, plus 120 or something like that. So, you know, I think at times he was at plus 150, but by the time I looked at it, plus 120 or something, didn't completely entice me. It was more of a questions asked type fight. I wanted to see how Tafon would handle someone with the boxing of Junior Park. And to be honest, he handled it pretty poorly. He couldn't really get out of the center line. He was trying, but Park was just finding a home for that jab consistently. Park's gas tank looked better, even though he had a bad staph infection. It was kind of domination in that fight, really. It was very close up until Tafon kind of started to tire. Park started to realize that, oh, you know what? I can kind of like not walk the guy down, but I don't have to be super careful of his power, which obviously in the first round you do have to be. Tafon's a very strong guy. Tafon had like 5 fights coming into this fight. You know, Park had quite a few more fights than that. He'd fought the higher level of competition, Barrios, people like that. So, yeah, it was quite an obvious bet. But as I say, the line just wasn't that enticing for me. So I passed on it. But anyone who bet on Junior Park, definitely a great bet. He showed levels there. He was just one level above Tafon, you know. It was the experience and just the boxing as well that cleared him the win. And the next fight was Ludwig Klein versus Michael Trisano. Again, a very controversial, well, not again, but the first controversial fight on the card because I know a lot of people scored it for Klein. I did score it for Klein, but look, I'm not unhappy with the bet. Oh, sorry, I'm not unhappy with Trisano getting the win. Well, I shouldn't say that. Like, I was going to say I'm not unhappy with Trisano getting the win because he was such a big underdog, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the fuck the betting lines are. I should just judge the fight on how it should be judged, right? I do think Klein won that fight 2-1. I think it was close, but I do think he won the fight 2-1. So I don't think Trisano should have got the decision. I know Trisano got 30-27 on some scorecards, which is pretty egregious. Probably up there with like one of the worst scorecards ever. I mean, I don't think you can say he won 3 rounds. I mean, the first round, it was pretty clear Klein round because it was back and forth. Nothing really happened. Klein seemed like he caught Trisano clean a bit more on the feet, although the feet was very close. And then Klein got a takedown. So it was almost like, you know, a definite Klein round. So you can't really score that against him. But they did. One judge did anyway, or it might have been 2 judges. But anyway, Trisano got the win. And anyone who backed Trisano at plus 200 or whatever it was, very, very good bet. Because obviously that fight was evens. You know, that fight looked about minus 110 apiece there. I did have a bet on this card. I had a 1-unit play on Ludwig Klein to win inside the distance at plus 115. So this was a bad bet from me. Forgot about that bet. Probably tried to erase it from my memory. But yeah, this was a bad bet. Look, I would not touch Ludwig Klein's money line. I mean, if you're laying minus 250 on Ludwig Klein in a fight this close, I mean, it's pretty crazy. I just thought Klein might be able to touch him. And to be honest, my read wasn't off in the fact that he did land hard on Trisano, but Trisano ate it like it was absolutely nothing. So that read was completely off. I thought that Trisano wouldn't be able to eat the shots he did. Now, he didn't eat a lot of shots. It's not like Klein was always touching him up. But Klein landed about 7 or 8 very, very hard straight hands in that fight. And Trisano literally looked like they didn't do anything to him. So very bad read there on the power of Klein for me. I also thought the head kick would be there for Klein. But Trisano was actually too tall for Klein to land the head kick. And obviously the pressure, he was grounded him a lot, so he didn't get the space to do it. But he did throw the head kick once or twice. And actually, he only could land on like his arms or something, you know, because Trisano was quite a bit taller than Klein. And he just didn't seem to be able to get his leg up there, especially with the crowd and pressure of Trisano. So that was another read that was poor by me. I thought the head kick would be there a bit more. So, yeah, I just underestimated Trisano's chin there. But, you know, I had 26 units on the line in this card, and it was only a 1-unit shot on a plus money play. So it's not like I went crazy on it. But that was a bad bet from me, in my opinion. The next fight, Carl Dawkins versus Phil Hawes. This was very good from Phil Hawes. He seemed definitely improved. And I saw a lot of rhetoric going on, you know, about potentially why he improved his cardio. People were saying that he improved his cardio for various different reasons. People are also agreeing with me, thinking I don't think anyone saw Hawes improving his cardio, right? Like, you can give reasons as to why his cardio was improved, but I don't think anyone predicted his cardio to be improved, regardless of them reasons or not, right? So I definitely rate Hawes for, basically outgassing Kyle Dorcas, which is pretty crazy, right? I had 2 units on Kyle Dorcas in this fight. I'm not ready to say it was a bad bet just because I don't think it's possible to predict Hawes having better cardio than Dorcas. Nothing we saw on tape through the whole of Hawes' career and the whole of Dorcas' career said that Hawes would be the one outgassing Dorcas here. It was impossible to predict, So, like, in that regard, I'm happy with my bet. It lost one. When I'm looking at sports betting, I don't give a fuck if my bets win or lose. I just look at my read and I try to say, because I'm in this for the long haul. I'm not in it for one card and then I try to win money. By the way, I profited on this card, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not in it to profit on one card and then leave. I'm not in it to make quick wins. I'm in this game for years and years. So what you have to do then, right, is perfect your process, right? Not perfect the individual bets, right? Because you can't. So if you just perfect your betting process, then eventually you will start to win money. And that's exactly what I've been doing for the last 10 years. And specifically in MMA betting for the last 6 years now, I've been perfecting my betting process. And for the last 3 years, I've been able to make consistent income from sports betting, specifically MMA. So in doing that, how I do it is basically I will go back after each one of my bets, win or lose, and I'll look at the bet and then I'll compare it, basically what happened in that fight, and I'll compare it to my read. And I'll be like, how was I wrong in my read pre-fight, right? And one of the ways I was wrong in my read pre-fight here was that I thought Dorcas would have better cardio and we'd put in on Hawes late. Actually, it was the other way around. Hawes had better cardio and put on Dorcas late. But then you look at then what I look at, was there any way of me knowing this? Did I make a bad assumption or was I justified in thinking that, right? And I was justified in thinking that Dorcas would be the one with better cardio than Hawes. So in that regard, I'm not unhappy with my bet at all, especially seeing as Dorcas was able to withstand the early pressure of Hawes. Now, if Hawes went out and knocked him out in the first round, I would be a bit less happy with my bet. And usually it's not like that, because if your fighter gets knocked out early, it's like, oh, that could happen to anyone. But because he's fighting Hawes, that was always a worry, right? So if I'm paying 2 units on Dorcas and then he gets knocked out in the first round, which I saw was a possibility on tape, then I'd be like, fuck, you kind of knew that. You know what I mean? So I was happy that he was able to get past the first round. And I actually thought once he get past the first round, he'd start taking over. It was so crazy because once he got past the first, like, Dorcas won the first round because he just had Hawes on the fence for the whole time. And it was kind of crazy because once Dorcas got out of the first round, he actually faded. So, and that's probably because he was trying to wrestle or clinch with Hawes, who was a much stronger man in general, and that tires you out, right? So there's reasons, but at the end of the day, look back at my betting process, look back at my reads, where was I wrong? So I'm happy with that bet, and I'm also, I'm also congratulating Hawes because that improvement in cardio was extremely good. And look, if he's got 3-round cardio, it's going to be a problem for anyone because he's a very strong guy. I still think his chin is like not good at all, and he will be brutally knocked out soon. He's been brutally knocked out before. We've seen it multiple times. I believe it was Julian Marquez that head kicked him on the Contender Series, so it's not like he hasn't been knocked out before. He also got done in a regional scene once, so we are going to see him brutally knocked out in the cage soon. He almost got knocked out in his last fight against Imavov, and he almost got knocked out this fight in the second round against Dorcas. So he seems to always get hurt, but he's got good recoverability. He's very similar to Sadiq Youssef in that way. They've got bad chins, but they've got good recoverability. Whether it's just their genetics, whether it's probably a combination of everything, whether it's because they got good cardio, good conditioning, so they can recover quickly, multiple reasons. But at the end of the day, Hawes has got a dodgy chin, and he will be knocked out in the UFC soon. It's just about timing that, and I haven't been good in timing that. So I'm going to have to look at Hawes, especially now he seems to improve the cardio. I'm going to have to look at that. The next fight was the best fight on the card. Don't think anyone can argue with that. I know it only went 1.5 rounds, it almost went 2 rounds, but Diego Ferreira versus Gregory Gillespie, absolute amazing fight. Gregory Gillespie comes out there, taking Diego Ferreira down. Ferreira is not settling for anything. He's on bottom position, throwing up arm bars, triangles, sweeps, everything you could imagine from bottom. The scrambles in that first round were absolutely amazing. I can't wait to watch that fight again. I haven't watched it again, but that first round was one of the best first rounds I've ever seen in the UFC, in my opinion. The scrambles were a thing of beauty. Anyway, Ferreira, seems to be doing very well, wins the first round. I think he ends up on top of Gregor, almost sinks in the choke. Gregor seems absolutely gassed, goes back to his corner. He seems extremely tired, comes out the next round, and he's the fresher fighter in the end. After a first couple minutes of that second round, he ends up getting on top of Diego Ferreira and pounding him out, and he gets a second round TKO. That was an amazing win for Gregory Gillespie. I didn't think he'd be able to, summon up that heart after almost being out of there in between rounds 1 and 2. And I did a post on Twitter, and it'd be quite interesting to see this. I was talking about if you, if there was some sort of science or some sort of studies on how can I explain this? So I basically said that, one of the ways people improve their cardio is not improve their cardio, but mid-fight. So one of the ways someone gets a second wind is if they see their opponent fading, right? But that's all mental, but then it impacts the physical. So, for example, Gregory Gillespie come out there in the second round. He was tired, but then he saw Diego Ferreira getting tired and even more tired than him. So what that does is that mentally tells you, fuck, actually, I'm fine. My opponent's tired as well. And that gives you an extra boost. And that actually affects your physical. So it's crazy, right? Because you can be tired and then something happens to your mental, like you see your opponent fading. And then that mental transfers to your physical. And then you actually get more energy, it's a crazy thing. But we know, not everyone, but most people should know that the mental impacts the physical drastically. The placebo effect, for example. I'm not going to go into the placebo effect. This is an MMA betting recap video. But if you guys don't know what the placebo effect is, just Google it. You can actually, you can take a Skittle, for example. If you've got a cold or even an infection, right? You can take a pill which has nothing in it. It could just be a sweet pill. It's a sugar pill, right? And if you think it's medicine, your body actually reacts like you did take medicine and you don't have the cold anymore. You're not sick anymore. But all you did was eat a sugar pill. That means mentally you're thinking that you're going to be better and it affects your physical because the cold is gone. That's what the placebo is. And actually a lot of drugs that companies create, they never go on market because they can't beat the placebo effect in clinical studies. So obviously that pathway for the mental to affect the physical is there in humans. That's not arguable. And it's just interesting. And I said on my tweet that I mentioned earlier that it would be cool if someone did a study. I don't know how you'd do it, but there's cleverer people out there than me that could probably do it. It'd be cool to see how seeing your opponent fading actually mentally gives you a physical boost. That would be pretty cool to see. Anyway, a bit of a ramble there, but that was just one of the thoughts I had on this fight when I watched the fight. Because I've fought before, not in MMA, but in Muay Thai. And man, I've seen it, I'll be super tired and then my opponent start fading. And then all of a sudden I get a second wind. I'm like, but what the fuck? You was just tired. How can you have a second wind now, But it's because that mental picture or that mental whatever placebo effect or whatever you thought affected your physical. So I feel like that's what happened to Gregory Gillespie here. Obviously he's got heart. He's a fucking wrestler. That's that wrestling grind. He's used to that shit. But I think it was also more than that. I don't think it was only because that wrestling grind. I really do think he saw Diego start to slow down and then it gave him an extra boost of energy because he was hanging in there, he was grinding, but he ended up turning it up, right? And that is a combination of Diego gassing. So he looks like he's turning it up, even though he might not be turning up as much. It's also because Diego's going down and he's going up. So, the picture you see is a little bit skewed. But I actually do think that, it gave him a second win. So, Gregor, great win for him there. I thought this was going to be a very hard fight for him. And it was a hard fight. He almost, I don't want to say he almost got stopped, but, he definitely didn't almost get stopped. But, it's debatable. That's subjective, right? Because he did look out of it after the first round. And obviously Diego was definitely trying to latch up that chin on the end of the first round. So amazing performance from him. And I won't speak too much more about this fight because I've gone in on it a lot. I didn't have no bets on that fight, and kind of happy I passed there, because if I was a Gregory Gillespie bettor, I would be very, very worried. And then obviously Diego Ferreira, you would have been fucking annoyed if your bet didn't cash there. Before I get on to this fight, which is one of my favorite fights to talk about, I will just catch up with the chat there. Juan Carlos Olivi Menezes is trying to, what's up, bro? He's trying to get a quick UFC 262 pick for me on the main event. I don't know. I'm going to tape it after this. What I would say to you is subscribe to me on Twitter, and I'll be going live in about 2-3 hours with one of my friends to talk about the main event and co-main event of UFC 262. So I'll give you all that information in a couple of hours. But go on my Twitter so you know when I'm going live. Yes, he was from Guyana, Carlston Harris. Thank you for that. Pascal is saying very informative. Thank you. You're welcome, Pascal. Thanks for being here. Narco Cop, my man, thanks for being here, bro. Everyone is saying the 5 pound hurts Gregor, but I think it hurt Ferreira because his weight cut was terrible. Yes, I was thinking that Ferreira might have cheated in this fight, right? And I don't call fighters cheaters. I never do it. But the only other time he missed weight was when he was fighting a wrestler, which was it Khabilov? He's only missed weight twice. I was listening to Liam Pick's fights. Shout out to Liam. Breakdown on this fight. And, you know, he was going into quite some good detail. And the only other time, he was saying the only other time Gregor's missed weight was when he was fighting a wrestler. You know, it was a bit of a coincidence. And then obviously, you know, he got done for that USADA suspension before and stuff like that. So it's, yeah, I think maybe he came in overweight on purpose. I mean, 5-6 pounds is a lot. I'm not sure he completely drained himself to get down there. I know he did look bad on the scales. I feel like Diego might have been putting it on a little bit because, I mean, if you're 6 pounds off, you definitely can look bad. But most of the time when you see fighters look bad, it's like when they're 1 or 2 pounds off. It's not like when they're 6 pounds over, you know, like you shouldn't be looking that bad unless your weight cut was so terrible. But anyway, who knows, right? We wasn't there. He looked, yeah, Gregor looked so done. Narco is saying, I honestly think this fight would be completely different had Ferreira not drained himself with the weight cut. All right, look, this fight, Maurice Green versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Now, I had a max bet on this fight. I had 11 units on Marcos Rogerio de Lima. And, you know, I got it at -170. And, I mean, I don't know what you think he looked, but, I mean, what are we going to say? -400? Like, what did he look? Like, so if you was relining this fight, right, if they had to fight again tomorrow, and they hadn't fought each other before, right? No different game plans, whatever. They just come in like they did yesterday. What would you line De Lima, right? I'd line him at least -400 or something, right? -300. I mean, what do you want to say? So this was complete domination from De Lima. I mean, he arguably got a 10-8 in all 3 rounds. Even if you want to give him 10-9, whatever. He dominated all 3 rounds. He only needed 3 takedowns to take him down for the whole fight, you know? So, I mean, his top control time was like ridiculous. It must have been like 14 minutes or something in the 15-minute fight, which is pretty crazy. But, you know, a lot of people were calling me crazy for max betting De Lima, right? Oh, how can you max bet De Lima? He's a flake, you know, De Lima's not good. Listen, guys, a lot of people just look way too much, like they get too involved in like certain things. Look, it's a fight. There's 2 men who are fighting. Maurice Green versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima. They're 2 men and they're going to fight, right? Yes, one can be a flake, but you have to look at each individual matchup, right? A lot of people say that about Luke Sanders. He's a flake. But if I fought Luke Sanders, like I'm a lot bigger than Luke, right? But if we were the same size and I fought Luke Sanders, is Luke Sanders going to flake against me? No. He's going to beat the fuck out of me, right? He's not going to flake, even though he might be a flake. It's because he's a lot better than me at fighting. Do you understand? So, yeah, De Lima might be a flake, but he's fighting Maurice Green, guys. He's fighting Maurice fucking Green. And some people are shocked at what happened in that fight. Obviously, I wasn't shocked. Otherwise, I wouldn't have max bet it, right? But I couldn't believe the amount of people saying like, wow, Maurice Green looks so bad. I mean, De Lima's not a bad fighter, guys. De Lima's a decent heavyweight fighter, you know, light heavyweight to heavyweight fighter. Maurice Green is really bad. You know, he's really bad. Like, at the end of the day, they're going to fight, and it is what it is. Now, if you're going to put De Lima against someone like Romanov, right, he probably will bring that flakiness out of De Lima, and he did, right? I actually also almost max bet Romanov in that fight, you know, because I put 8 units on him. Then the fight was cancelled. And then I got 8 units of minus 120. And the fight was cancelled. And then they moved it to minus fucking 300, which is one of the worst heartbreaks I've ever had in MMA betting, you know. But you see what I'm saying? It's like, even if a guy's a flake, it doesn't matter if they're not fighting a guy who's going to bring that flakiness out of them. Do you know what I mean? If I'm fighting Luke Sanders, he's going to beat my ass. I'm not going to bring that flakiness out of him. You won't see the flakiness. Same thing here. Maurice Green doesn't have it in him to bring out the flakiness of De Lima. Anyway, good win for De Lima. Easy win for De Lima. Probably one of the easiest wins of his whole career. Maurice Green done absolutely zero. He got 5 significant strikes. I mean, but that's not even that bad considering he was on his back for 20 minutes, you know, or 14 minutes. So there we go. Max bet cashes. I got plus 6.5 units on that bet. And it actually won me the night because I had a bad bet on Jeff Neal versus Neil Magny. Now, a lot of people said Jeff Neal won this fight. No, I think Magny won the fight, to be honest. It was close, though. I mean, if they gave us Jeff Neal, it wouldn't have been a robbery. But, I mean, Jeff Neal was just, like, picking his shots way too much. Now, my read on this fight, it wasn't great because I basically thought that Jeff Neal would be able to hurt Neil Magny more than he did. That's just basically the read. There's nothing else there different. I knew Neil Magny would be pumping out more volume. I thought Jeff would be able to win it optically. I thought Jeff would hurt Neil Magny. Now, Jeff did hurt Neil Magny, almost closed his eye in that first round. After that, and then in the third round, he wobbled him towards the end of the round. But, you know, like, he didn't put his foot on the gas as much as he should have done. And yeah, man, I mean, Neil Magny just done what he always does to every fighter. It's not much to say about this one. I should have bet Neil Magny. It was kind of like, I don't know. This was a bad bet for me. I don't really like this bet. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, Neil Magny there, he won the fight. He might fight Chimaev now, which would be a good fight. I think Chimaev will dominate Neil Magny, man. I know a lot of people, you know, are not high on Chimaev because they haven't seen him work. I don't know. I see the skills there. And Neil Magny always has trouble with the wrestling. I think Chimaev will... Sorry, guys. Pardon me. Yeah, I think Chimaev will completely dominate Magny, to be honest. What the fuck happened to me there? Just coughing, yeah. So, yeah, I think Chimaev will completely dominate Magny. That's a bit of a mad thing to say, right? Anyway, Magny always has problems with the wrestling. So, you know, I feel like Chimaev will just do what he wants to Magny. We saw what Chiesa done, and that's quite embarrassing for Magny. He almost done, like, absolutely nothing to Magny there. And, I mean, Magny didn't do almost nothing to Chiesa until the 4th and 5th rounds. Will they make it a main event? Maybe they make Chimaev a main event. Chimaev Magny, is that main event worthy? I don't know. I mean, Magny just done his main event against Chiesa, and he beat Jeff Neal, who was a main event fighter. So, to be honest, I think they probably would make that a main event. I don't think Chimaev would need 3 rounds to get Magny out of there. I reckon Chimaev would probably ground and pound Magny out or choke him out within the first two, three rounds. So, you know, I don't even think he'll need to go in 4th and 5th rounds. That is a bit of a worry. Who knows if Chimaev's got good cardio? He seems like the architect to have good cardio. You can't bet on things you haven't seen, in my opinion. Some people say you can. Obviously, there's a few cases you might be able to kind of do it. But at the end of the day, man, I've been in sports betting for 10 years. You know, I'm not new to this game. And if you want to be in it long term, not talking about 1 fight or 2 fights or even 20 fights anecdotally, if you want to be it long term, you don't bet on things you haven't seen. Do you know what I mean? You don't pretend improvements are going to be there because you think they might because you've heard something from their training camp. You know, most of the time it's complete bollocks. And for every 1 time it comes off, there's going to be 20 times that it doesn't. So if Chimaev's fighting Magny in a 5-round fight, not saying I wouldn't back Chimaev, but you have to use that in. You have to take that into your capping that you don't know Chimaev can go 4-5 rounds. Like, you don't know, right? You haven't seen it. So you have to take that into your capping. Now, if you cap Chimaev at a minus 250, you know, maybe now you cap him at minus 200. I'm not saying now Magny's going to win the fight because you've never seen it, but I'm saying you include it in your capping. And as I say, I don't even think it gets there. I think Chimaev probably chokes the boy out, ground and pounds the boy out in the first 2-3 rounds. But you see what I'm saying. Anyway, good win for Magny. I do like Magny as a fighter. Yeah, not much more to say there. The next fight I had on the card, quickly catch up with my boy Narco. He's saying he would have lined it minus 600. I mean, look, he looked it there, right? He literally looked like he was never going to lose that fight. Give me Chimaev at minus 200. I'd probably bet that, for a couple of units as well, a couple of dollars on that. Magny likes those clinches, and those will not work. Yeah, man. Chimaev is he's a beast, man. I mean, I know a lot of people want to fade him because, it'd be good to fade him with dog money. You'll look good if you win, but I just have to. And look, he's unproven, so there's nothing wrong with fading him. But I feel like a lot of times people are unproven, but you can kind of tell by their style and what they've done that they are special. And I do think Chimaev is special. Am I getting caught up in the hype? Maybe. Did I bet Chimaev as a minus 300 favorite in his UFC debut when no one knew anything about him? Yes. Did I regret that bet? No. Was I happy with minus 300? Did I get value on minus 300? Yes. Did I bet him in his next fight 7 days later against Reese McKee? Inside the distance? Yes. Was I happy with that bet? Value? Yes. So you don't always have to see them perform at a certain level to think they're going to do that. Because when he was coming in against John Phillips, right, most people are like, look, he looks good, but I can't bet him as minus 250 against John Phillips, who's a UFC veteran. And I was one of the ones no, you can. John Phillips cannot defend a takedown. Chimaev will spam takedowns. There's nothing really more I need to say, and I mean, we saw what happened in that fight. Boy is setting records in that fight, setting middleweight records. Styles make fights, and that's a nightmare matchup for Magny. 100%. That's why they keep calling him out. They're not stupid. Chimaev knows that it'll destroy him. Ali Abdelaziz is not dumb. He doesn't put his opponents in on bad fights. He's one of the best managers in the game. Say what you want about the guy's shady life. He's one of the best managers in the game, and he knows exactly what he's doing. Donald Cerrone, Alex Morono. I had 3 units on Donald Cerrone. I'm not even unhappy with my bet, and I just closed that in case you can hear the helicopter. As I've said, bad bet on Jeff Neal. What else? Bad bet on Ludwig Klein inside the distance. I'm completely honest and transparent. I don't think this was a bad bet on Cerrone. Now, it was actually a terrible bet on Cerrone, in hindsight. But you never go on hindsight. You always look at what happened in hindsight and then look at your pre-fight read. I've never seen Cerrone look that bad in all my life. I've been watching MMA for a long time. Now, did he look worse when he fought McGregor, RDA, when he gets stopped in a minute? Not really, because they were kind of flash knockouts, right? They just happened. This fight went on for 4 minutes and 40 seconds. We saw a whole first round, right? And Cerrone did absolutely nothing in this round. I mean, look at that. He attempted 36 strikes and Morono attempted 90. I mean, I have never seen Cerrone look this bad in all my life. And it might be time for him to hang up his gloves after this. The guy's 37, 38. He's been in a hell of a lot of wars. He's gone back to back with fight with people like Justin Gaethje, Tony Ferguson, Conor McGregor. He's been brutally knocked out in a lot of them fights. I think they took something from him. His whole career seems to be starting to catch up with him now. I don't want to take too much from a fight, but we did see 4 minutes for it. And Cerrone looked so bad, man. And he was talking big game coming into that fight, which I didn't like, because Cowboy never likes that. He's like, look, I'm going to be ferocious in this fight. I think I might stop him in the first round. He was talking a lot of shit, and we never see that from Cerrone. He was like, every strike's going to be super ferocious. And he just got washed by a fighter that really shouldn't be washing Donald Cerrone, man. The Alex Moronos of the world should not be dominating Cerrone like that. Look at Cerrone's record. This is probably his worst. This is probably the worst fight he's ever lost to in the first round, the way he lost, right? Might have lost a close decision against some shitter fighter or something, but man, Cerrone doesn't lose against the Moronos of the world, This is a terrible look. He gets blasted out by Conor McGregor, Justin Gaethje, Tony Ferguson. He went to a split with Pettis, who largely dominated Morono, except for the first round, almost stopped him, and that was even recently. Pettis is old at that point. So, Cerrone, he doesn't lose to these fighters, and especially the way he lost, he just got completely blown out of the water there. I think it's a terrible look for Cerrone, and I definitely would think about hanging it up if I was Cerrone. But look, credit to Cerrone. He's an absolute legend to the game. And, I just don't want him to keep fighting and just keep getting hurt, especially by these fighters, because it's a sad look when fighters are getting beat by fighters they would never get beat by in the past. Like BJ Penn did, like BJ Penn just getting beat the fuck up by fighters who wouldn't have touched him in the past. Same thing with Anderson Silva. He's getting hurt. He's getting beat by fighters like Uriah Hall. Like Uriah Hall wouldn't come close to Anderson Silva in his prime. Instead, he's getting knocked out by Uriah Hall. It's sad when you see these legends continue fighting at the end of their career and get beat the fuck up by fighters who couldn't hold a torch to them prime for prime, So I don't like to see that. No one likes to see that, especially when there's a lot of damage involved and it can affect you later in life. It's not just a game. It's not like you're getting beat at football and tarnishing your legacy. You're actually getting head kicked, and stopped in the first round. So shout out to Cerrone. Shout out to Alex Morono. He stepped up. I don't want to take anything from the boy, but I have to call it as I see it. I'm not an analyst. I'm not a media member. I make money betting on MMA, so I call it straight down the middle, no BS. If you don't do that, you won't make money, I'm not a media member. I'm not trying to be friends with anyone. I'm trying to make money for me and my members at the end of the day. Shout out to Alex Morono. He did what he meant to do. He went in there, he put it on Cerrone, and he knocked him out in the first round. Amazing win by Morono, and by far the greatest win of his entire career. The next fight. Good fight, Everyone always slags off Michelle Waterson. She's in another 5-round fight, which is a good fight. But, I might have a little bit of a crush on Michelle Waterson. Don't tell anyone. So, maybe I back her a bit too much. Anyway, look, Marina Rodriguez come out and did what she meant to do. She put it on Michelle Waterson. A couple of times she looked like she might have it out of there. I did have a bet on this fight, 0.25 units, a quarter of a unit on Michelle Waterson to win via sub at plus 1,000. Look, I just played the number here. I didn't think Michelle was going to sub her because, Marina Rodriguez has been to the ground with fighters like Cynthia Calvillo and didn't get subbed. So I didn't actually think Michelle's going to sub her. As I always say, sometimes I get kind of bored saying this, but I have to realize that new people watch my streams every time. I get new followers, new fans, new members. So I have to keep reiterating the points, So if you do watch me often, sorry if I repeat myself on certain aspects of sports betting, but I'm going to keep on doing it. So, because I'm trying to educate and there's always new people watching. So one of the things I was going to say was in sports betting, you're not betting on what you think is going to happen. You're betting on where the value is. And if you're in this for the long term, if you get value on the lines, you're going to be winning more than the odds suggest, which means you're going to be winning long term. You're going to be winning money. If you pick who you think is going to win all the time, yes, you might pick a lot of winners, but the odds are going to reflect that. You're going to be picking minus 200 favorites a lot of the time, right? And that means that you have to pick at such a high rate just to break even. Whereas if you're picking on where you think's value, if you actually can spot value, you don't have to win that much in order to win money. So, someone could be picking 70% of the winners and I could be picking 40%, but I'll have way more money than them. I'd have earned way more money than them because I'm finding value, and the bets I'm betting are like plus 200 underdogs sometimes, or minus 150 favorites. If my guy over here is betting who he thinks is going to win, most of the time they're going to be favorites, right? So he's going to have to bet more to actually earn the same amount of me, and ultimately he'll end up losing. So that's a concept in sports betting. It's called value, and I go into it more depth on my website. Anyway, so I didn't think that this bet was going to happen or win, but I still bet it because it was plus 1,000. I thought that Michelle would need to get to the fight to the ground, and on top she would be dominant, which she was extremely dominant on top. And the sub is always live. If you're going to be dominant on top, the submission is always live. Anyway, quarter of a unit, lost that bet, is what it is. Nothing. I don't give a fuck about that one really. Marina Rodriguez, I'll make that bet again every single day of the week, twice on Sundays. Marina Rodriguez, she did what she needed to do. She won a decision, 4 rounds to 1 probably. That last round was pretty close. It was funny because Michelle Waterson hit Rodriguez with a body kick, and Rodriguez was wobbly there with the body. She stumbled. But Michelle didn't put on the pace after that, which was extremely crazy. I mean, it's the 5th round. You've hurt Marina Rodriguez. Why wouldn't you just go forward and just go absolutely crazy? I know you're scared of getting countered, but it's the 5th round, girl. You know what I mean? Like, you're losing every round except for the last one. You can't even win the fight, even if you do win this round. So it's kind of strange in that regard. But maybe she didn't notice it, She didn't notice it. because she did have a good poker face, Marina. Anyway, Marina kind of dominated the fight, as most people thought she would. She was just cleaner on the stand-up, you know. Kind of did a little bit what Joanna and Jacek was able to do, just keep it on the feet and kind of dominate. Yeah, that's it, guys. Rip through the card. Any of you got a comment about the card or anything you want to ask me, just any chat in general, hit up the chat because I'm going to be going in the next couple minutes, probably 2 minutes. So I'll just catch up with the chat before I leave. Narco Cop had 1.5 on Cerrone at minus 160. Thought it was a gift at the time. So did I. Don't understand why she didn't shoot as much. She waited 4 rounds before she shot. She did shoot in a couple of the first rounds because I spoke to Luke at Sparring with Reality Betting, and you know, he said the same as you, but I don't really agree, if I'm being honest, because she did try to shoot a couple of times in the early rounds, but Marina, like, her range was just a lot better. UFC stats don't actually show the clinch control, the takedown attempts here, but she did shoot a couple, right? And I feel like she didn't want to get too close because she saw the counters from Marina Rodriguez. You know, she doesn't set up her shots well, Michelle Waterson. She's never set up her shots well, because if you go back to her Angela Hill fight, she shot 18 takedowns in that fight, and she only got 1 takedown. If someone shoots 18 takedowns and they're only able to get 1 takedown, that means that she's not good at getting takedowns, right? And a lot of that comes into she's not good at setting up the takedowns, right? Because even if you're not actually that good at getting the actual takedown, if you can set up the takedowns well, it's going to be way easier to get the takedowns. So, yeah, she doesn't, you know, and I see come back in the chat, half-hearted shots. I know what you're talking about, but they were not real committing shots. I just feel like she doesn't know how to do that. You know, it's not like she didn't do that. I just feel like she doesn't really know how to do that well. Now, could she have gone a bit harder for the takedowns? Yeah, of course. Like, yeah, that is. But I think it's more that she wasn't able to. She doesn't have the skills to set up her shots and go for the takedowns, and less of she just wasn't committing at all. Do you know what I mean? I think like she doesn't have the skills to commit. But that's just my take. Luke has a different take, and you can have a different take too, bro. That's why the world is so exciting, you know, because people half disagree and stuff. But yeah, I just feel like she needs to work on her skills at setting up them takedowns, as opposed to just saying, fuck it, I'm just going to mad commit and just run in, because that's when you get caught badly, you know. And Marina will catch you like she did Rebus, but you agree as well. So it's a bit of both, I guess. Terrible wrestling, you know, but she will spam takedowns, you know, and she didn't spam enough in this fight, in my opinion. I do agree she should have went for more than 5, right? She went for 18 against Angie. But that's the thing. Angie's nowhere near as dangerous as Marina. So maybe she felt Marina's power and she was like, you know what? I don't even want to like put myself at risk. So, but yeah, man, I mean, when she did get her on the ground, you saw the domination. She was on top of her. I mean, it was complete domination. She could have even like 10-8'd her if she got her down in that last round, right? And I was like, damn, she might get a draw if she 10-8's her, you know? And if I wasn't limited on Bet365 right now, they took away the live bet function, I would actually live bet her. Anyway, that's it, guys. I'm done. Thanks for listening again. If any of you want to sign up to my service, you will make a side income betting on MMA. You can go to lucrativemmabetting.com. All the links are in my bio. Third-party tracked, independently tracked, cannot fake my record. We're up 40 units this year already. Not a lot of people can say that. 60 units we won last year, so we're tracking to do a much better year than last year. The year before that, 99 units. Yeah, man. I mean, you'll make money betting on MMA. That it is what it is. Shout out to Narco. Thanks for chatting. I've agreed it. Not agreed it. I just read you saying I agree. I've enjoyed it, and thanks everyone else for being here as well. Take care. Have a good week yourself, and I'll actually be back in a couple hours, most likely, or maybe tomorrow, with breaking down the main event and the co-main event with my boy. Take care and good luck on